Happy Saturday, everyone. Okay, we're going to be sewing the Dainty Daytripper. So hopefully you have your pattern pieces out, your fabric interfaced, and you're getting ready to sew. Hi, Catherine. I'm really excited. I love this bag. Give it a few more minutes so other people can hop on, and then we'll start. So yesterday when I did the interfacing, I did not use foam because I'm doing the foam sewing how they suggest in the pattern. In the pattern, they tell you to cut out foam. Where is it exactly? I hate when that happens. It tells you to cut out foam. I want to say it is a square, like, you're going to cut out foam stabilizer, no pattern piece. It's 18 inches by 18 inches. And in this method, they machine based the foam onto your fabric. I actually do this with all my foam. I am not a fan of fusible foam. I love foam, but not fusible because something happens when when the glue starts like not working. Like areas will have like pockets. It'll look like bubbles. So we're going to machine base this foam and then put the markings. So I did one already with the markings, and I'm going to do one with you so you can see how I do it. But I love the fact that it is machine basted. I'm not a huge fan of foam stabilizers. Now, if you are a huge fan of it, you can definitely do it. It's just personal preferences. Let's see. Hi, Deb. So we're going to be using pattern piece. We're going to be using one of the outer fabrics for piece B. And we are going to machine base this fabric to this foam. What you see here are sew tights. They are magnets. And you could pin this because I'm using fabric, but these are always on my machine for situations like this. You can purchase them at Emmeline Bags, Sew Tights website, Amazon. I think some stores have them, but I've only purchased them through Emmeline Bag and Amazon. But Amazon's prices were more than Emmeline, so just a suggestion. The thread I'm using today is Saba from Waywack, and it's 40 weight polyester thread. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on threads and gumming up the needle. So you're going to see only one person in my previous noticed this, and they messaged me asking me what this is for. I have these on all my machines. It uses sewer's aid, and the thread is spooled through here so that you won't, it like kind of like lubricates your thread lightly and less breakage. And when you use double-sided tape or glue, it doesn't gum up your needles because there's constant oil going through the machine. It doesn't stain your fabric, none of that. Hi, Sarah. See, Catherine, same thing with me. Everyone like loves the adhesive foam, and I'm like not a fan. I'm also a huge fan of anti-soften stables. I've had our foam, I had Pellon's foam, I had Viseline's foam. There's something about her formula is ridiculously different than any other ones, and the compression, the more you sew on it, the flatter it gets, and it's easier on the seams. All right, so I'm going to machine base this just as a 3. The seam allowance throughout this pattern is 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to machine base that 1/4 of an inch because when I trim it down, it will have that extra secure stitching towards the foam. I always sew off from a scrap piece of fabric in case like I have skipped stitches. I can adjust and go from there. Oh yeah. When I'm quilting a bag, I pin base or I use the sew tights just like I do with the quilt. Because there's something about I've just, it's me personally, I just never had good luck with fusible foam. I don't know why. Even with the sewing mat, I mean with the heat press, I just don't have luck. It could be total user error. But I don't mind machine basting. My machine is an industrial, but a Juki 5550N is actually made for garment sewing. I got this machine twofold. I do love making bags, but I also make like historical costumes and cosplay costumes. So I wanted something that can go through a lot of layers and corsets. I used my brother 3500 Innovis for almost all my bags for like 2 years. I had a convention coming up and I wanted a Doctor Who look. So I decided to take the 11th Doctor and make it into like this elegant apron, but it was also like a corset. So it like cinched in your waist and gave you a very hourglass figure. If you ever make corsets, you use boning channeling. You place the boning in there and you kind of have to stitch it with a zipper very, very slowly at one time. Well, one of my kids like screamed my name. The needle went through the boning and it messed up my timing. And the machine, that Brother Innovis machine is like $6,000-$7,000 machine. So when I took it in to get service, I was legit crying. And then that's when the guy suggested if I sew on a daily basis more than 4 to 5 hours a day, that I might want to look into an industrial machine. I never even thought about it because my brothers, I made a lot of bags. Annette, Celine's from Swoon, and a Dainty Daytripper. But because of what, like my other hobbies that I like to do, I wasn't willing to sacrifice my favorite machine again. All right. Good job. I'm glad you're here, Judith. So, you're just going to cut around. And as you can see, as I'm moving this around, these don't shift. That's why I also, they're an investment. When I first got them, I only got 3. The next time after I sold, I think it was a quilt, I bought a couple more. But like, yeah, when I'm quilting, I usually just use safety pins. Or like hair pin, like the hair for like your fashioners, like the millinery ones. These are like these hair pins and they're like really long and they go into your hat to whatever. I have a tendency of having these at every workstation. Like if I have to pull up a thread and tie knots off, it's right there. And I sometimes use them when I'm quilting too, because they're really long. So we have it, and we're going to then take off these magnets. And I just like stick them on the top of my machine because they don't move. And on page 3, Samantha has directions of markings. Now my anti-soft and stable is black, not white, which you can, then I will be like, use a pencil, whatever. But if you're like me, for some odd reason, always get the most difficult colored because you're extra like I am. I will use I'm going to use a silver clover chalk pen. And I'm going to use this. It's not a Westcott. This is a quilting ruler. But again, it has like all the marks of like 1/8, 3/8. And as you can tell, it's well loved. There's scratches all over it. Let's see. In your car. Oh, I feel like I'm a radio host now. So after we machine baste it, we're going to mark. First, I'm going to mark the centers. I just like doing that to all my bags. So like when we're doing that final, like the final steps when we're installing the zipper, then I know exactly where the centers are. I'm still going to check the centers then too, but I don't know. It's just something that I do. All right. And then the first mark, we're going to, on the top side, on each side, we're going to mark a 1 inch center at 1 inch at the 1 inch mark on the top, and also on the bottom. And these marks come in handy towards the end, so don't skip this step, because the frame is the funnest part, but it also, you need to have your measurements accurate so that way you could put the frame in. The first time I did it, I didn't make these marks. Man, it wasn't fun unstitching everything. So let me do it. And then the second mark from each side, we want to mark 1 3/8. And again, I love these because I'll get the 1 inch and it will show, I can go down exactly 3/8 of an inch. I love quilting rulers just for that. You're going to go from the top, just 1 3/8. So it looks similar like this. You have your 1 inch mark here, 1 inch mark here, and your 1 3/8 inch mark right here. So you do that to both pieces. And we're going to put these aside for now. And no, I'm sorry, we're not going to put them aside. We're going to go to page 4, and we are going to put in our back anchors. So you need to choose, like, you can choose which one would be better. Like, I know the pocket's going to go over this, but it has 3 butterflies on the top, so it'll be more butterflies versus this one. If the pocket goes over this, I'm only getting 1 butterfly and a half and a third of one. So this is going to be my front of the bag because I can get more, butterflies. So I'm going to make the back. And we're going to transfer the marks from your pattern piece. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can put your pattern piece directly on there, like, as you can tell, mine's is well loved. Take slits and poke out the little holes and make the marks in the front. Or you could do it from the back, and if it's if your fabric's really busy and you're afraid that I can't see my pin mark, you could do it from the back and do your holes that way as well. So I'm going to do it from the back. And I'm just going to go over this with my gray Choco pen, and I can see the lines, and I'm just going to make them a little bit darker so you can see them. If you have a white, if you have dark fabric, you could use a white chalk pen. It will be like perfect. Oh, I found black zipper tape. So I changed my hardware color to rose gold because I really wanted to do that yesterday, but I couldn't find just like black, plain black zipper tape. And I found some in like another part of my drawer, and I was like, yes, I'm super excited. All right. So I have my marks. I hope you can see it. I can see it well, but I couldn't find any of my white foam. I only had the black foam on hand. And I get both depending on the bag. Like if I'm using black fabric, for some odd reason, I have a tendency of using all black interfacing, whether it's Shape Flex 101 or sew-in interfacings or foam. I just, because in case like the coloring fades in your black, the interfacing is black on the inside, so it holds up better. The color holds up better. It's a weird thing I just discovered a few years ago when I offer repairs on my bags for up to 2 years. So somebody gave me a bag and they're like, I wash this bag all the time and it was black, and you can see where like it was kind of fading a little bit, and I had white interfacing and it was really noticeable. So when I remade the bag for the person because I felt bad because they were a frequent customer, and now 2 years later they have the same bag, and I'm like, I don't know what you did with the fabric, but it doesn't fade, and it's not the actual fabric. It is the interfacing is matching the black fabric. Just another weird tip. So I got my kit again from Inline Bags. So I'm going to take out the, and we are going to need duct tape. And this has the washers on the back. So I am going to be using, I bought this purely just because it says Nova. You can use, you can use a, like if you have a Tulip Pink seam ripper or a regular seam ripper, just make smaller holes. It's easier to go bigger if it doesn't fit the first time, but if you go too big, it's harder to repair, and it'll be better for you to either try to do a patch job and or cut out another piece of fabric. So mine's kind of look like a scalpel. Make sure you're on a cutting mat that recovers so you don't damage your table or anything else. And I kind of just poke a little hole. Like I don't go more than like 1/4 of an inch down in it. And you'll hear a little popping sound because of the interfacing that we used yesterday, and then we're breaking fibers in the foam. And in my case, the gray chalk likes to come dusting. And be careful, don't poke your fingers. I have a tendency of poking holes to the back a lot. So, because I usually draw all my markings on the back of the fabric, and it's just easier for me. But if you do it from the front, by all means, yeah, use a pencil, whatever you can to make sure that marking's visible. I'm really excited I found black zipper tape because I absolutely love rose gold. I love rainbow. I use rainbow a lot, but oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, because a lot of people, there's a because somebody was asking me in the last live, one of the lives, I used black Shape Flex 101 on my black fabric, and they didn't know that that was a thing. It's a huge thing, also in like bridal. When if you ever venture into bridal interfacing, they have like nude colors for interfacings because in case like something is sheer or rips, it's less visible. Like it holds up better. So these are little prongs, and Emmeline is really good about keeping, like they have like little plastic. Let me lift this up. Like little plastic, if you can see, like on her hardware so it doesn't scratch. I leave the plastic on these until I'm done with the bag because it's going to go through the machine, me turning it inside out and whatever, and so that the bag's not, hardware doesn't get scratched on metal or anything. I keep these on until I'm done putting it in the bag. You're going to just gently move the prongs to the middle, like so, because they come like this. So what I'm going to do is definitely pay attention to the pattern. The anchors are facing down on the top, and on the bottom they're facing up. I didn't pay attention to that the first time. What you can do, part of my weird glue habit, is you can put fray check on the holes too, just to give it that. It'll help with the fabric not fraying over time, but it also, see how my pen works in handy. It also would help with adhering the fabric to the hardware. Well, me personally, I noticed, like, I love watching people do lives because everybody teaches differently because there's so many different backgrounds. I need to make this hole a little bit bigger. Like I said, I always like to know where a bag maker's coming from. Are they, like, have they never sewn before and they wanted to sew because they've seen someone like Samantha and they're like, I want to sew a bag? Or do they have a background like, oh, I'm a quilter, or I'm a garment maker, I'm a costume maker? Because everyone's skills from different sewing experiences can help with bag making. I'm just going to rip this. And you put your little washers on. And there's people that fold their prongs in or out. I prefer them out. I've never had one come loose on me, but you never know. Anything can happen. And we just do this with all four. And I'm just putting like a drop over where the hole is so that way it can just not fray as much. It stops the fraying action. I have like fray check at every workstation too. I have a lot of, you'll see, I have some different, I've been hearing a lot of people saying that double-sided tapes gums up their needles, and I'm going to give you like a little bit of tips that I think help me and maybe it can help you. because one of the glues I use a lot is a children's pasting glue. Like what they get in kindergarten, they ask you for like 10 million of them at the school. I use that a lot in like garment making when I'm trying to adhere bias binding, because it's washable and it somehow always, I don't know, it works for me. Sometimes even when I'm doing zippers, or like if we have any garment makers here, when I do like a lap zipper, I use it to adhere versus pins. And these are going to go up the pointy side. The washers are a reinforcement. So it's going to be if I wasn't using foam, I would want to do a reinforcement. If it makes you feel better, you could definitely put a reinforcement, but because these are kind of like a name tags, like they're prongs, like a magnet, and there's the foam, the washers become the reinforcement. If it was just like one layer or something, similar like when we put in the magnet, it's only one layer, I will be using a reinforcement on that, and I'll show you the reinforcement I'm going to use. It's perfect for scrap vinyl. Like you have little pieces of vinyl and you don't want to throw it away. I'll show you what I do. It takes a lot, because have you ever tried to really tear foam? It doesn't tear very easily. It's okay, Monica. Hey, Flora. There's no screws on these. These are prongs. Oh, the long johns, I put glue in the middle screw. Yes, that's just, anytime I see it, if I have screws on anything, I always put glue on it. And also, weirdly, Samantha's really smart about this double-sided tape, because it helps a lot because it doesn't rub against the lining fabric, and it double down as extra reinforcement. Yeah, I ripped it off. Alright, so we have these going up, these going down, and we're going to put this aside, and we're going to work on our strap. Yeah, last night I cut the straps into 3 different parts because I didn't have a piece that was long enough for the 90 inches that I needed. So I'm going to show you what I do. I'm just dropping everything. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the straps. It's very similar. If you're a quilter, then you're really going to be familiar with this. It's going to be right sides together, and it's kind of a backwards L. And I drew a line. So this line with the crisscross is the line that I'm going to sew. Back stitch in the front, back stitch in the back. And then I'm going to cut this part right here and press open the seam allowance so that it can not be as bulky. My mom has like the world's strongest hands. Like, we never wanted to play thumb wrestle with her or anything. She is tiny, but she is mighty. Like, her hands. Another thing just fell. Her hands are like really freakishly strong. Now, if other than her freckles that I inherited from her, I inherited really strong hands. Like, I'm the person everybody goes to, like, oh, can you loosen up this peanut butter jar or open this pickle jar? I have like freakishly strong hands. And nobody likes playing thumb war with me because I win every single time. And I'm going to do a stitch length at 2.5. And just go down this line. All right. So what you're going to see is it's like an L, and then when you open it up, it's a continuous piece. So I'm going to cut off where I drew the 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can do 1/4. I just I'm notorious at burning my fingertips, so I just keep it at 1/2. And we now have like 80 inches, but I'm going to fold in a 1/2 inch, and this pattern calls for 90 inches. So I'm going to add this other piece, cut it down 12 inches, and then I could do the fold so I can have a nice clean finish. And we basically just do the same thing. We are going to put this face up and grab the other one. Mark your line. You can clip this if you're comfortable with it, more comfortable with it. We're gonna do the same thing. Go have a perfect diagonal going down, 2.5. Back, do a couple back stitches. This about a 1/2 inch away from the seam. And we just have like one huge continuous strip. So what I'm going to do first is grab my little baby mini iron. Turn it on. It has it gets a lot of steam. It's small but mighty. I'm going to open up the seam, and I'm going to press it open. If let's say you were doing vinyl and you need to do continuous, you can just put like 1/4 of an inch tape on both sides. I do this with my vinyl too, but if I don't have that exact 90 inch or whatever I'm looking for width, then I do the same thing. What iron? Oh, this is, I got it off of Amazon. I will link it after the chat. I got it off of Amazon like last year because before like the pandemic, because I was like, I'm going on a retreat. I've never been on a sewing retreat, and I actually wanted to go to this retreat in Canada because there's a designer called the Fairy Bra Mother, and she's made like lingerie for like the queen and all these people, and she has sewing retreats to show you how to make like bras and stuff like that. And that's one thing I can make a corset, but I can't make a bra. So I was like, I'm going to this. Then the pandemic happened. So what I'm going to do from here, from this point right here, I'm going to just like measure out like 10 inches. So I know I have enough. I'm going to measure out, yeah, 10 inches. No, 12. And then I'll just cut this extra off, and if I need it for something else, like later on, I will use it. Because these were both like about 44, 45 inches. No, Sarah. No. I don't want to frighten children. That's we're gonna for me, I like to fold in my like about a half an inch. I eyeball it. You can measure in 1 inch and then just fold to the 1 inch mark. And I'll show you what I mean on the other side of this extremely long. So what I do is, if you wanted to, you can go to make a 1 inch mark. And you could you make your 1 inch mark, and then you could just fold to that 1 inch mark, so you have a perfect area to press. So this is the 5 inch one, 5 inch wide, because it's going to go for 1 1/4 of an inch. 1 1/4 of an inch hardware. So I draw a line. This was 5 inches, so I drew a line at 2.5 inches. And I am going to just basically press, and this is leaking a little bit, to my line that I made. If you're not like at your table, you can definitely do this at an ironing table, and it'll be so much easier. Hi, Janet. Oh, the one I was using yesterday was the gravity feed. I use this when I'm doing lives, because I don't want to. I the gravity feed gets really, really hot, and I'll end up putting it on something and it winds up melting. And I didn't want to like have direct steam in my lap or on my face. But this, I'm not gonna lie, this little iron is small, but it works. And see how, like, when I'm folding in the bulk, it's not, excuse me, water. It's not all in one area. I do this with my vinyl too. Man. I do this with my vinyl too. Of course, not the ironing. Hi, Janet. And then we do the other side. very similar to what Monica and you hear Tammy say. I leave like a small, like 1/8 of an inch in the middle. So when it folds, that the bulk is there's not like a whole bunch of bulk on one side. And you can have like, if you're doing like black fabric, you can do like, because you know how the inside of mine is like all rainbow. I could have done rainbow thread. I'm still contemplating on that. Because I don't mind changing out like a little thread color here and there so I can have like a pop of something. And we're almost done ironing this. I wanted to do this part yesterday, but I didn't have the thread set up. I had the thread set up for the previous bag I just made. And the next thing I do is I'm going to put the iron down and I'm going to start clipping so we can top stitch this. Let's see. My bag full of mismatch clips. Like what? Over at my other sewing, like my other sewing station, I have like all the clips are just like the small clover clips. And this station has a whole bunch of just random clips. I have a tendency of using binder clips, you name it. It's fabric. If you wanted to do the same thing, if you didn't have a lot of vinyl, you can do it the same thing. Just use double-sided tape and, of course, don't iron it. So when we're going to top stitch this, and then in the next step, Mrs. H has it where you install the backpack crossbody scenario first. I found, because I don't sew my strap ends together and I do riveting, I rivet them, I don't do that step. I do that at the last step after I birth the bag and it's all pressed out, because I think that it just adds more bulk when you're trying to birth the bag. Now, with that being said, if you are going to stitch the pieces down, then you have to do the step that she said. Ever since I discovered rivets, I like riveting things. So we're going to top stitch this together, And she gives like some really cool hints on page 5, like if you're doing with vinyl, how you would sew right sides together first, and you would stitch inside, and then you would cut like cut the little excess over here to V, and then when you flip it, it would have a clean edge on the top. But because I'm using fabric, I'm not doing that method. And then hers doesn't look like a 90 inch. She explains in here that this was for just picture purposes, and she shows you how to thread it. I'm going to show you how to thread it. Because I'm riveting them in and I'm not going to be top stitching them, I'm not going to do this step until the last thing I do. I just don't like if there's a way to prevent extra like bulk through the birthing process, I'm all about that. I'm going to go at a 3. I'm going to back stitch a couple, and I'm doing that like 1/8 of an inch. I'm eyeballing it. This is such a long strap. All right. And just breathe and take your time. It's not a race. And like I said, it would be really beautiful if you had like, if you wanted to like play around with like a contrasting thread, so that way it can be like a decoration feature. See, Monica, I did a strap first. And it's like feeding through it will feed through any machine better because, like I said, the bulk is like spread between like 5 inches. It's not all in one location. If you get any loose threads, make sure you stop at the needle down, put that thread. And doing the other side. This is a long strap. Okay, and just gonna make sure everything's tucked in. There's no tail sticking out when I do the ends. Okay. cut close to the edge. You can, I have polyester. I can burn the threads, but I hate burning threads on cotton. I don't know. I know. I have this thing where I never do the straps until the end because I'm a huge fan of doing a rolled handle, and I just like to see the bag first before I figure out what kind of handle I want to make. But yes, this is a super long strap. You can't see the stitching because it's black, but there's some loose cotton that wanted to come out. It's black. But see, I sprayed it with a little bit of starch before I ironed it, and like before I got on live, I used the flatter, and it's really crisp. You hear? So, like I said, I'm not going to do 5 because I just don't. I feel like if you're going to rivet it, don't. If you're not, then you do. The directions are quite brilliant. You basically have you're going to find your center. Make sure that the straps are even, and you're going to thread this on both sides. I'm just gonna show you in case you are gonna sew. You're gonna find your center. You're gonna thread this on both sides, and then down. You're gonna put a slider here, and then thread it like you would do just any other belt or any other strap or adjustable strap. And I'm going to show you how to do it at the end. I just hate the extra bulk. Like, when I turn it out, I want to be like, yeah, Hulk it out and get it out. So I'm going to put that aside. And we are going to be working with the zipper pocket. So what they want you to transfer marks from pattern piece D. Pattern piece D is the one that has like the dashed line right here. And let me grab I have all my pieces labeled. All right. So we're going to be using pattern piece C and D. We are going to be using, and you can use a number 3. If you do use a number 5 purse, you can also just count it with the seam allowance. So we're going to grab C first. And on this one, I ran out of black interfacing, so I used white with you guys. So I like to draw the center of each pattern on back of each pattern piece with a pencil. No one's going to see the lining. And then I'll write each pattern piece that correspond to it so I can have it on hand. I did find, like I said, black zipper tape, and I am going to be using these really pretty dragonflies that are rose gold. So that's what I plan on doing. I had scissors. Okay. So I know a lot of people, I have a zipper jig. I usually use it when I am trying to do a double zipper or I'm really tired. But most of the time, I'll just do it at my work table. because it's fairly easy to put them on sometimes. You just have to open it up a little bit, make sure this area is perfectly flat, and cut away all the little furs, and you can just push them in like a Lego. It could be my freaking nature hands though too. So I'm going to put clip this down, and I'm using a zipper. I'm going to be using a number 5, and I will put a seam guide because my sewing machine has a 1/4 of an inch mark and a 1/2 inch, and I can use wasabi tape and make a mark there, but I never do that for some odd reason. So what I'll do is grab my nifty ruler, place the needle on where the 3/8 of an inch is going to be, and use this little magnetic guide, and or I have a lot of weird toys, so bear with me. You can get a seam gauge. So it has where 1/8 of an inch, 1/4, 1 scant of 1/4, 3/8, and they have little holes so that you can put your needle down on the one that you want. And it could be exactly 3/8 of an inch, and you could use that seam guide or this little fun doodad. It will stay on your machine, and it uses, you have to keep this little tape thing too. That's the reason why I hardly ever take it off. What I would do is, instead of using this, I will line this up with this, press it down with my fingers, and it kind of just sticks, and it's kind of hard to move. It's a interesting little tool, and I got it from Emmeline. I was curious because I seen it at a quilt show that was virtual, and I was like, huh, this is pretty interesting. So move these scissors over here and let things fall by the trash. And we're going to, I have my zipper pull going. I know you're mirrored, so I have my zipper pull going to my left. Grab my little tails, go back to 2.5 stitch length, and we're going to back stitch. And when you get to your, if you get to your zipper, just make sure your needle's down and move your zipper out of the way. Or you can have your zipper further down so you don't have to worry about it. That's why I leave just the whole zipper tape, what I think I'm going to use for the whole bag on there. So that way the zipper can just be out of the way. Make sure you cut off your threads. And then we're going to put the lining piece on top. I like to clip. I have had zippers shift on me in the middle of sewing, so I don't know. It's better safe than sorry for me, because I hate seeing like a stitch line where the sewing line was supposed to be. Tape, not tape, but I'm gonna put this film back on this guy, the little doodad. I hardly use it unless it's like a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I'm like, okay, it's been a minute. Not that good with 5/8 of an inch. And that fell too. Okay. So apparently my cart doesn't want to hold anything. Yes, I see like everyone moving zipper tape, and I'm just like, yeah, well, what if we just have a longer tape that for the rest of the thing, and then just it won't be in the way. You could when you top stitch, you can top stitch like both like this together, and I have black thread, it doesn't matter. I actually like the look of the lining not having top stitch, so I understitch. It's something they do in a lot of dressmaking, and I have all the seams going down this way. The seam is all here, and I'm going to top stitch, and technically the lining that is still getting stitched, but just you're not going to see the stitches because it's going to be on the other side of the zipper tape. And I'm going to top stitch at a 3. Back stitch. And I'm just eyeballing it at 1/8 of an inch. I'm looking at where it's like in between my pressure foot. So like I have the top stitching here, but in the inside it's just a clean finish and not the top stitching. That's purely personal preference. It's just something I like. Then we are going to do the same thing. We're going to mark where the placements are. So on, where did you go? On pattern piece, okay, on pattern piece D, you're going to fold where this dash line is. And you're going to place your pattern and mark the lining. Now, I have this on the wrong side. And what would be easier, it's going to be kind of difficult because this is such a busy print. You can take a heat erasable pen, because we are going to make this the area where the fold line is, so that way this area, it's this area up here, so it looks like it has like a band of fabric right through here. So you can do it on top and just use a heat like a heat erasable pen. And we're going to add this. you can do your lining and your main fabric at this, you know, kind of, it's the same stitch length if you wish. I don't. I've had it where something just shifted on me and it just like, okay, if I just would have took that one extra step, this wouldn't be happening. Sorry, I'm trying to get the tails underneath the presser foot. And we're just going to place the lining. And I marked already, there's going to be a magnetic pull, like snap that goes on in here. It's going to be on the lining side. So because I cut from the lining, I marked down the 2" and where the center line is so that I know where the magnetic snap is going to go right away. And I'm going to show you how I use scrap vinyl to reinforce the back of that. Get all these threads. And we're going to top stitch. I'm going to top stitch again on this. I'm going to take my seam allowance and flip it towards the area that I'm top stitching. Back stitch at the beginning and the end. And you're just like going 1/8 of an inch top stitching. So a few things you're gonna, when you line this up, you're gonna be like, this doesn't look right. It's because these two pieces are going to line up with the corner, the top of the corner. I'm just gonna clip it. And if it kind of automatically rolls to where that line is where you have to shift up. So that's how everything's going to be aligned once we put it to that part together. We're going to install the magnet first, and then we do that. Going to move this here because I know I'm going to I'm going to install the magnet first. Okay. So the magnet is going to be, you know what? I wrote this on the wrong side. I should have wrote it on this. It's going to be right here because it's going to connect to the backpack so it can have that slip pocket. And the magnet is, you need to find your center, which really, I didn't even put it on this side. And it's going to go, it's supposed to be 2 inches down. And because I already marked 2 inches on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm opening up the seam. And I'm doing 1 3/4 because of the 1/4 inch seam allowance I used on the zipper. And I'm going back to my nifty little kit that I got for inline bags. And I'm grabbing the magnet. Okay, and we're going to be installing, let's see, the male half. Okay, so when I find my center, I usually just take the washer as my tool and I just mark. But because I'm going to be using a vinyl, that's a scrap piece. That's a scrap piece. So, I have my scrap piece of vinyl. I have a drawer just of scraps. And I'm going to take the washer and just make marks of where I want it to poke. And I just basically slice like I did with the other one. Go through my fabric. Don't go too deep because it's cotton. Use the fray check. My fray check always like clogs up really fast. And then from the front, I put the washer. I put the vinyl. I mean, in the front, I put the actual magnet. I'm sorry, not the washer. The washer prongs go in the back. I mean, magnet prongs go in the back. And then this happens to me. There's the washer. Then the washer. And then I bend these outwards. I'm looking for my tape. This magnet is super, like the prongs do not want to bend. Interesting. That's never actually happened before. If happens, you can always use pliers, or I'm trying to think, what do I have in front of me? Oh, here, needle nose pliers, yeah. Out, tape, okay, so we're going to, I try to get the pieces to act like one before I go into trying to use that line. Hi, Yvonne. So I'm just trying that the red line that I got from the water, not the iron, the iron piece, not the iron piece, I cannot talk today, the heat erasable pen, I'm trying to line up on my mat with it. It's in red. Okay. So we're going to top stitch the edge of that pocket panel by 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to, after that, insert the female portion. It was good to see you again, too. I hope you sleep well, Sharon. Okay, and just back stitch a couple. All right. Putting clips on everything, and then finding the main fabric for the butterflies. in the front. On this one, we're going to put it 10 inches from the bottom center. And this is why I do this huge line, so that I can find it. But what I also sometimes do, because if something just didn't line up right, for whatever the reason may be, I like to just like gauge it on the other side. Just gonna make a mark right here to see if that's 10 inches from here to here. And it is. Not bad, not too shabby. So now we have our area. I'm going to use the washer, make my cutouts, and Dalva, I definitely, because the magnetic is on cotton, I will use reinforcements, because magnets are meant to pull on each other, and I don't want like extra tearing. And this is how I lose clover clips. They like flip off, and then I'm just like, okay. You can also use the washer as a guide. I sometimes do that if I don't have like something like where it's so dark that the charcoal pen won't go through that. I won't be able to see it. I could probably use a silver leather pen, but I didn't think of that before. Spray check. Also, this is like the time right now, if you're going to put a name tag on here, to figure out where you want to put it. I'll show you where I put mine's on my last bag. Right. And then we duct tape. Bonjour. Okay, then we duct tape. The last place I did it, I measured, I think 3 inches above. Like I basically took a ruler, and then I think I went 1 or 2 inches up. You can put in the top, you can put it on the side. There's a lot of places you could put this. You could put it like on the back of your backpack in the middle. For this one, I think I'm going to just probably do in the center like I did on the other one, and measure two inches up like I did last time too. Yeah, that's a bust. Okay, the soap pen works pretty good. All right, so where did I put my name tag? There. So I'm going to use a Rose Gold one. I like to put a piece of vinyl underneath my plate. It's just, I don't know, because my nameplates are circular, so it's a weird area. I'm using a soap pen because none of the white chalk pens are working for me right now. And you could put glue, if you wish, on the back of your back of your washer or your tags. Which I need to get a watch. I'll be right back. I thought I got one. I thought I had one. All right. So we're on page 7 now. And what we're going to do is we are going to first move sharp objects. And we are going to clip around all three areas of this bag. And you're lining up the box corners. I like to clip my magnetic snap because I want it to fit perfectly. Like I clip it inside first, so that way before I start pinning in place I know exactly it's going to fit. I'm going to move my zipper tape aside and cut it. Just getting all So we're pinning and we're just going to go here all the way around all the box corners, so this becomes just one unit. And I'm at a 3 still. Back stitch, and you're going just like 1/4 of an inch. And we could trim up any overage that's like past the main panel to make sure that when we do the box corners that they are, you know, matching on both sides. That's kind of important. And we're going to close up the pocket too. Okay. So we go all the way around the pocket, stitch at 3.5. I did a 3. Oh, her suggestion, if you wish to add a bag tag, go 2 3/4 of an inch up from the raw edge of the main panel B. So I'm just going to trim any little extra that's hanging over the box corners. Just clean it up. All right, wasn't that much actually. See? And then you have like a nice size pocket. We have that, and then we're going to, let's see, yeah. What I did last time is I also just did the bottom stitch. This piece just not even out. I did a bottom stitch to close the pocket so that the change won't go through, and I did it just going straight across, and it like takes in all the raw edges just from the pocket. And just a few back stitches, and it just takes in all the raw edges because these are going to get folded in to this, so now when you open up your pocket, should be no raw edges inside showing. All right, and then we're going to take our lining piece, we're going to do the pocket. Make sure you have your marks that we did in the beginning, the 1 inch and the 1 3/8 of an inch. I have them marked on all the pieces. the outside and the lining pieces. We're going to do a zipper, pocket, find your center. One piece. Let's see, 1 second. Where are you, lining piece? There you are. Okay. Find your center on this. Okay. You want to place the lining piece E, the short edge, 5.5 inches from the bottom edge. And then I can see my crease mark, and I'm just going to lay it on top. Okay, and then we're going to draw a box, a 3/8 of an inch high from 9 inches up from the bottom. What? My pen is disappeared. Okay. Nine inches long. Hold on, I'm sorry. Draw the bottom of the box 5.5 inches from the bottom piece. 5.5 inches, 9 inches long. One, two, three, four. I'm just making sure I have the measurements right. Sorry. All right. And I'm just placing these tiles because I was hand sewing something yesterday and I cannot find my pin cushion to save my life. Let's see. So we're gonna do this box. It's 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to go to a 2.5 stitch length. And when I get to the corners, I'm a person that counts my stitches to make sure that the boxes are even. And there are really awesome templates for this, but they're not close by hand. I completely forgot to bring them. And then back stitch. Let's see. And then I just cut a straight line, and then I get the closest to I can to the edge without snipping the threads. And then I bring this back. And I'm just gonna press, and I'm like rolling the lining fabric to make sure that it stays in the lining area and it's not poking out. Okay, so we have this. Oh, yeah, I guess it's like my weird little, I don't know, it's super weird. I've always done it. I just, because I've had it where like, I feel like the zipper is crooked and I'm not understanding why, and it's because one side has like 6 stitches and the other side has like 7 or 5 or something, and it's just not even. I know I just had, I came fully prepared. That's the crazy part. I had a really cool rainbow, not rainbow, rose gold zipper tape. Hold on. I'll be right back. Let's see, where are you? Okay, so it's going to be a little difficult with me. It's okay. I'm just going to use this really dark color zipper. Like, it's a regular size 4.5 zipper from YKK. All right, so you can double side tape this. That's kind of like what I normally do. I'll just use like 1/8 of an inch, or you can glue baste it with, there's a lot of different glues. So what you do is you just kind of, you literally glue, and you can use children's glue too. You kind of glue baste it. Lay the zipper how you want it to go. You line it up. You iron it. And it gets really tacky and sticky, and it'll stay. Like sometimes I'll walk away, I'll go get a drink of water and just let the glue settle and then just go at it. If that's a problem with you, but double-sided tape is not that big of an issue with me because I use the sewing aid, the sewing thread lubricant right there. So I have my pull and just readjusting, and you can always add more glue. I start on the area that doesn't, the zipper head is this way, so I usually start away from that. And have, like, it's a little over 1/8 of an inch that I'm doing, like, my foot's riding the zipper teeth. That sounds weird, but it's weirdly accurate. When you pivot, make sure your needle's down. I always like to back stitch over the sides. I feel like that's where it gets the most stress, maybe? That's what the word I'm looking for. And I'm just kind of peeling the glue back to make sure, because I want the zipper teeth to line up directly in the middle. Now when I'm getting close to where I'm going to have to go where the zipper head is, I'm just going to put my needle down and I'm going to push my zipper head through that hole, and then there's a lot of different ways you can install a pocket, and you just got to figure out what's like the best method for you. So I just used, it's like children's Elmer glue, but they have it through Sew Line. They use it for paper pattern piecing, but I have like children's glue all throughout my thing, and you can just glue it down, and there's no gumming of the needle. Thank you. So I'm going to cut down this zipper tape on both sides, and we are going to close this pocket up on the sides, and similar to what I do with waterproof canvas, I kind of fold it in like a 1/2 inch or 1/4 of inch and clip it so that way when I'm birthing, if I want to birth through the lining, and then get the lining to have a clean finish, I pull the lining out through the pocket. So we are going to stitch down the sides. And I'm going to back stitch a whole lot when I get to the end. Back and forth. Just getting any extra threads. Do the same thing on the other side. Back stitch a lot because that's going to be an area that's going to help me, you know, birth the bag. And we're done with that side. Now, I said I was going to show you how I would put a slip pocket. Normally, I would probably put a slip pocket like right here, because when you open the bag, this is the first pocket you're going to see. You can just throw it in there. But I hate seeing like a bare inside lining. So I would just take this lining piece, and I just had the other one. This is not a part of the pattern, it's just something I do with any bag, because, you know, people like pockets. What I would do is what I'll do is take this. It's the same size as the zipper pocket. And there's two ways you can do this. You can sew up these sides where you can fold it and then have like a decorative like bias binding on the top, or you can just have like a standard slip pocket, which I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to do this at 1/4 of an inch because I like a big slip pocket. So I just take a pen for 3/8 of an inch, and I just draw out the lines so I know where I'm going to clip the corners to have a cleaner finish. Like this. And I'm going to leave like a 3-inch opening. So I'm going to go start, and then you'll see why I do these, because it takes like nothing but a minute. Follow the line that I made, pivot, back stitch, lifting up my presser foot, and then not stitching over that 3 inches that I left open. Pivot. Okay. Then I just use the pinking shears real quick. Don't cut into your stitching. Get these little corners. And when I want to turn something, sometimes I'll hit it with some steam because like the interfacing makes it like super hard to turn. So it's like, it's rigid. So what I'll do is I'll warm it up and it's like more pliable. And then while it's cooling, I'll turn. So it's easier to turn. Because now I'll get something like a chopstick or whatever pointy blunt thing I can get to poke out the corners. And what I'll do is, remember we went up 5.5 inches from the base to install the zipper pocket. So what I'll do is I'll just use that same method and do 5.5 inches on the other side to install this. And for me, I know like when my customers or when I give family or friends a gift, everybody I know wants a million pockets. So if it's something this simple where I can just add a quick pocket, a slip pocket where someone can stick their cell phone or pack gum, you know, whatever, pen, I'll do it. See? And it's a nice crisp corner. And yeah, that's like, it's kind of like one of my favorite things to put on is pockets. So I have this area that's open. There's no sound. You can't hear me, Delva? Does anyone else have that problem? Debbie, the machine I use is a 5550N. Okay, thank you, Deb. So I'm going to find my center again. Just crease it. And then I'm just going to go 5.5 inches up, just like we did in with the pocket. And find my center. And the open flat part is the one that's on the bottom. We're going to close it up when we top stitch. And I'm just going to use this magnet to hold everything in place. And when I start off, I usually go at an angle, like diagonal, so that way this bag can handle being, you know, having objects in it. So I go back and forth like once or twice, and then I put my needle and the needle down, and then I'll go straight. Okay, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to pivot, and then I'm going to go in the corners, put the needle down again, and just go finish it on the top. You could put rivets in this and have like a reinforcement piece of like vinyl in the back. I just do like, I call it chicken feet. And I haven't had an issue with it. And we have a handy dandy slip pocket. I could have top stitched this, and I should have, and I didn't. But it's a really crisp look because I use the structure. All right, so we are now on page 9. And we are getting that. We're going to be doing the zipper tab and the anchors. Let's see. Put this behind me. Where did that go? That is super insane. One second, I'm sorry. I have some MIA pieces that are right there on the floor. So, all right. We're gonna prepare the ends. All right, for G, we are going to find your center. And you're going to get your pattern piece. And it has folded lines. So what I did is I folded it, I fold it, and then I have this where we're going to put this on top, and we are going to iron. We're going to iron, sorry, I'm putting some distilled water in my iron so I have enough. It's a little thing, so it doesn't take a lot of water. We're going to iron our pattern pieces down on the foot, how it is on the. We're going to use this as our template and start to fold it over and iron. You can use I did mine with a pen. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Dalva, that it was hard at first. I apologize. I drew mine out with a pen, but I also will use this. I'm contemplating on making like a cardboard copy of this so that I can just iron over it. And I'll go back to where it folds in on itself, where there's no raw edges, and then re-iron. And it's really important to press this because you don't want like little corners popping out. So try to, you can use a little starch, whatever you have to do to get it to, have the cotton behave. So this would be one. That's going to have a D-ring in it. And we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And then we're going to thread the swivel clasp. But I like to just iron both of them right away. And then also iron the tabs right away. So what I did is I like kind of just sketched mine out so I could just place the template on it and then go from there. My iron also makes like a cricket sound. I have no idea why. Like when it's pumping out steam, it just does like this cricket rubbing feet together. What, oh, you're streaming it now? Thank you. The fabric's Allison Glass. I got it at Emmeline Bag. You can get it there, or if you have a local quilt shop, definitely see if they have it. Allison Glass has like absolutely gorgeous fabric. And then I'm going to go back and just get the top. And then you could kind of like clip the corners a little bit so that way you don't get a weird overhang, and it kind of reduces the bulk just a tiny bit. You hear, that's my, it has like a cricket sounding effect. It was my son. I was like, I was using this while they're in school. Like I'll cut out pieces, and sometimes when I'm ironing, I'll bring this little doodad up onto the table, and he was like, why does it sound like a cricket? Okay. So for this, we are going to, let's see, fold in half. And I'm just, instead of drawing, I'm just going to press that half. And then we're going to use that half as the area where we're marking for our center. That's one, and B. I'm excited because we're getting close. Once we install the zipper, it's just like boxing the corners and stuff, and it just, the back comes together just so beautifully. And we're just pressing. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put this iron down, and we are going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And what I like to do is, like, problem areas where like a corner wants to poke out, I just stick a clip definitely in that, so that way I can focus to make sure that I hold that area down really well with whatever's around me. So it looks clean. All right, and we're gonna do 1/8 of an inch. I'm at 2.5 because it's cotton. If this was like leather or vinyl, I'd probably be at a 4.5. We're just doing 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, I change my fabric plans a lot. Most of the time I don't pick out my fabric until I'm about to sew. Like, I know what interfacing I want to use and so on and so forth. So we have one zipper thing ready to go, and then we're going to take this other one and back stitch, and I'm just like taking one of the things and just pushing in the folded parts because they love popping out. So this is where, like, if you have like magic pins, it will help tremendously. Okay, and sticking this little tail. Just sewing around down this. It's like not. It's like a slight curve, but you totally got this. Just 1/8 of an inch. Trim the threads. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yes, I interfaced the fabric yesterday. There was a live, if you go to the event section and past, you'll see where we interfaced all the fabrics yesterday. When these got interfaced with a medium weight, no, it wasn't woven. I used a non-woven interfacing. All right, so we're gonna go top stitch these as well. Yes, there we go. I'm sorry, I think we thread the swivel clasp and you center it. No, we're top stitching 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, I always look for my other piece so I can sew them together. If it's on my lap, it's a miracle. I don't know why. I just have a tendency. I was going to make the bag white, but I have this beautiful cotton. It's like cotton coated. It's like coated cotton, and I was like, it has like this pearl iridescent, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna do this. But then I was like, I just did the jingles in white, so. All right, so we're gonna get our hardware. Come on, other dealing. There you go. All right. So we're going to thread this and I'm going to go and do a box stitch 1/4 of an inch all the way around so that the raw edges will not be exposed. And then we're going to put a rivet, and I'm using small rivets today. Back stitch, and just be careful because with the hardware. So it's better not to get, I know everybody wants to get as close as they possibly can, and I'm the same way, but sometimes that's a good way to get a needle to break. And I just did a small little box. And I'm going to put all the rivets on at the same time. sometimes I'll go like 3/8 of above an inch above from where the hardware is. Hardware is, and like I will go do my box like right above and then put the rivet right below the line. That's another thing that can you do. So we're gonna get our zipper, and our zipper has to measure 18 inches exactly, teeth to teeth. So what I'm gonna first do is trim this to make sure it's even. Burn it so that the ends won't fray in the process. Use this. Burn these ends. See, Monica, a small lighter. And then zippers. I'm going to use these dragonflies. All right, so I open it just a little bit. I put one in and then the second. Oops. And then I kind of just make sure they're lined up, and then I just push it down, and I take my finger and wrap my hand around both ends so it's curled, and then I just push it down. So then when I want it for the other end so it can match up and not have like that weird bubble, because that happens to me quite a bit. A lot of fluff on that one. I do the same thing. I just make sure the zipper teeth are even. See? No zipper zag. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, my I had my husband watch one of Monica's thing, and he was like, she pulled out the barbecue lighter. I was like, yeah, she did. See, you don't have to have a jipper jig. Is a jipper jig convenient? Yes. If you're doing like a lot of bag making for gifts, hobby, whatever, then go for it. But if you don't have the funds right now, you can. I just did this in like a couple seconds. Practice does take perfect. Practice does take perfect. Yeah. That was perfect. All right, so we are going to draw a 1/2 inch mark on our zipper tape. Going to use a chalk pencil that I didn't notice I had before. And I just drew my little 1/2 inch, and we are going to enclose this. You're going to take your 1/2 inch line and put it right in this. You're going to baste it and just have it centered as best as you can. Back stitch. I like to cut all my threads like as I'm going, because I hate when you have like a long thread and it gets like caught up in your thread. Your D-ring would be good too. It gets caught up in your stitching, and then you're just going to put these so that they're matching, and just put a clip. So we got one, and what we're going to do is I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch all the way around, so it encases all the raw edges and it closes this off. Like I said, you don't need to get necessarily so close to the hardware. I mean, you can, and then use your I have a thingamajig. You can use your thingamajig or hop jumper right over it. I know I'm going to put rivets, so I'm going to be okay. And now we're going to top stitch across to close off the zipper. One side down. Match up that 1/2 inch. Center it as best as you possibly can. Baste it in place. Back stitch. All right. Grab your other D-ring. I love Emmeline's D-rings. They're like chunky and just feel like they'll never break. Just going to trim these a little bit more. Clip to make on the side that you're not sewing on, to make sure it doesn't shift and stays even. And start sewing, back stitch. Honestly, to me, this is like was the hardest part for me, because I've never done this technique before in a bag. This is the reason why I like the Dainty Daytripper. It's not like any other bag I've seen out there. All right, so we're on page 9, and trust me, we're almost done. Okay, so you can add decorative rivets if you want, or you don't have to. I personally like them. I like the way they look. It gives it a really chic feel. And I like to put one like right where the zipper teeth are, just for that extra security. What you can do is get rid of your threads. Is find your center and make your first mark. You can put one here and one at the end, so that way it can be helpful. Or you can have rivets going all the way down like I had in the one bag. I'm going to do one rivet on the top and one on the bottom, and of course rivet the I can't talk, the swivel clasp. And I just like putting little marks. I'm a person that likes to eyeball it, and that's not necessarily the best thing. You could have folded it like prior and do it. You can definitely have it without a frame. I'll show you the bag before. The last step is putting in the frame. So you can see for yourself what it looks like without a frame. I think it looks good with or without a frame. I need to get my hole puncher. Let's see. But if you want that Mary Poppins look where it pops out with the frame, then of course you need the frame. So I like all the rivets going down. I think it looks like it's cool. It's like blinged out. I like to punch all my holes and then put in all my rivets. Because before I did that, I do this method, I would forget to like snap on one rivet, or it snapped on and I didn't, I thought I pressed it and I didn't. So I'm using small rivets. They are 8 millimeters by 6. These are from Emmeline too. I love the rose gold color. Actually, it was really funny because my favorite hardware is the iridescent, but Monica has me liking rose gold with black. It seems like always when the cap part they're always on the bottom. All right. And just sticking them in the holes, pressing the cap in. I buy most of my rivets from Emmeline. I do also buy rivets from Tandy Leather because Tandy Leather has matte black, and I use matte black a lot. A lot. Most of my male clients want matte black, so it's all, you know, it's all what the client wants. I always have like 2 holes that never like fully press through. No problem, Beth. Tandy Leather has awesome, just like awesome rivets, because think about it, it's a leather company. Sorry. Now I also like to use a handheld one with a hammer, especially if I'm frustrated. Like, it just is everything. sometimes I just go one more time because like some you can hear the audible click and others you just don't. That's done. Okay, we're getting to the exciting part. Put these rivets back here. All right. So we're on page 10 and we're about to construct this bag. So there is a 1-inch mark and 1 3/8 of a mark. These markings are really crucial to how the zipper tape goes. So first, definitely find your centers. And I like to, sometimes I clip. I'm probably going to clip now because it's just easier. Do a small little clip. Get these strings, threads. All right. And I'm going to, I should have did this earlier. I draw my centers just to kind of confirm, but I usually do a little V. I think the hardest part is for this bag is cutting it out. It comes together, I feel like relatively fast, and it's just a really nice bag. I'm going to be making one. My husband's friend, he likes to hike a lot. And he likes the way how it can change from like a backpack to a crossbody. So, depending on how, like, you know, if you want the weight to be evenly distributed in your back, or if you want to not. So, putting these right here. We're going to work with the back panel first. That's why I have the zipper pocket already open. We're going to match the notches. And I would highly suggest you to clip all the way until that 1-inch mark on the back. And then it's going to go down to the one she has it positioned down from the 1/8 mark, from the 1-inch mark to the 1 3/8 mark. So it's a very unique shape, and it's part of what gives it the shape. Not just the frame, but it would help if I flipped it over. And then I just bring this down to the 1 3/8, and then we're going to the base, but it's cotton, so I'm just going to do a 2.5 and seam allowance. And definitely move when you get closer to your zippers to move them, because you don't want to put all this hard work in and there's like a 1/8 of an inch difference from the rest of your zipper from where your zipper teeth were. Okay. All right. So that's, you see these still clip. My suggestion is to keep those clips in, because now you're going to lay your back piece, which should be the pocket. I like the pocket to be in the back so I can grab things and zip it up. And you're going to sew all the way across. And the reason why I tell you to keep your clips there is your zipper tape won't pop up. All right. So we have these still here at that angle, and we're going to use our seam allowance and go back stitch. My machine is really close to the zipper teeth already, so I'm just going to make sure my needle's down and then move my zippers. And because they're like dragonflies, they're a very unusual shape. The part that comes on after this is going to be difficult, because right when you do this, when you're done, you want a top stitch, but you don't. Not on this one. Not yet. All right. So you have your little wings, and I know you want a top stitch, but you can see in bold writing, do not top stitch yet. We're going to do the other side. This is the magic of the bag, is, I guess, I want to say patience. I'm just going to clip these so that way it won't come in my seam allowance when I'm doing the other side. Grab these. Move these zippers. Match up clips. Go to the 1 inch mark. Go down to the 1 3/4 inch and clip right at that line. Do the same thing on the other side. And then I just want to make sure that nothing's buckling, so I'm just going to add a few more clips. And we're going to start sewing. All right, let's get this lining on. match up notches. I found it just easier if I leave those side clips right there, then it just makes my life a little bit easier. You can do, yeah. I have my dies is a 9mm one, and I use it for the smaller ones too. But don't think of it as a waste of money. Think of it as a backup, because dies do break. I had one rust and break, so like a backup. Okay, this is another reason why I like foam, is it's squishy, so you can just squish it. You're going to be fine. All right. So we're going to see this bag start taking shape and form real soon. We are first, we're not top stitching yet, are going to open up our zipper, take off these clips. All right. We're going to take this bottom part and we're going to put a few clips, do the seam allowance, make sure the notches are matching up. The seam allowance is 3/8 of an inch. We're going to do this first, and then we're going to attach the swivel clasp. The most bulkiest part of this is the box corners for this. This bag is a perfect bag for a domestic, but you will need your hop jumper when it comes down to boxing the corners. All right, so with your box corners, we are going to take the swivel clasp and we are going to center it in the middle. And we are going to clip it. I'm going to do the other side. We're going to kind of just baste it into place. I do like, not a base stitch, but 1/4 of an inch, so that way when we trim, it still has that extra line of row stitching, like reinforced stitching. So open up your bag. Move everything that's going to be flying off your table. And I'm going to baste this on at 1/4 of an inch. I just do a couple back stitches. This is the fun part about cotton versus vinyl or leather. Like, you can go back and forth as million times as you want and it's not going to like perforate it. Move really can. One, cut all the foam from the corners to keep it out. I mean, you can, but here's, if your foam, the more you sew on your foam, you can do a zigzag stitch in the box corners if you want, and it will compress it. It's easy. Foam is a little bit easier on the domestic machine than, like, let's say Decoville Light, because Decoville Light is supposed to give it a leather-like feel. I think most domestic machines can't even go handle through leather. The more you sew the foam, the more it compresses. Especially Annie's. In the swoon group, I put 2 pictures. One you've seen of the Lilo and Stitch, and the other one was a Mickey Mouse black and white. I did that all on my Brother Domestic Project Runway 420. And I never had to use a walking foot. Because you're only, at this point, you're only going through 1 layer, 2 layers of foam. That's it. And then this is cotton, so it becomes a little bit more easier to manage. Okay, so while this is out, we're going to clip sides together. Put this inside. I like to put my seam allowance towards the lining because the lining doesn't have as much bulk as the foam. That's just me. Tuck your zipper inside, but make sure it's fully open. I'm excited. This is like the fun part. I mean, the whole bag is fun, but just like all the work you did is about to pay off. When I first read this pattern, I was like, okay, why aren't we still not using, why aren't we still not top stitching? It's because you're framing the case. You're doing the case. So before you say, before I'm going to show you what it looks like without the case, even though you're making, it could be like a faux case for you, you still want to stitch it. We're still clipping. All right, so we are going to, we're going to do 3/8 of an inch on the main panel piece, and we're going to continue the 3/8 of an inch when we get to the lining, then taper it to a 1/2 inch so that the lining is really taut against it. We're going to birth this through the pocket. So make sure your zipper's open. It'll be easy, I promise. Another reason why I like foam. All right. Let me tuck this in. All right. 3/8 of an inch. Back stitch, I'm at a 2.5 stitch length. I have a 90/14 needle in. I am only using 40 weight. My machine does not like, for some reason, it does not like, it does, I'm trying to move the, I should have move the hardware over even more. It does not like 70 weight. I'm jealous when I see like people use their 8700 or the 5550 and they can use a 70 weight. So I backstitch, and then I kind of I kind of just like pull the thread and just start sewing on the other side. I know it sounds weird, but it works. Like, I don't want to cut thread right now until I'm done. Well, I might have to because that one got tangled. You could leave like the bottom half like a little bit open if you want to birth it through the lining, then birth the lining through the pocket and close it off. Let's see. I have by Annie Soft and Stable. I'm not a fan of the Pellon one. I do like Art Foam because it condenses really well, but it's definitely a different feel from by Annie. I can't, like, by Annie stands up on its own, and I feel like Art Foam or the Pellon one does not. And we're back to our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance right now, because we're back on the foam. Okay. Next, we're going to do a little bit of trimming. Hold on. Well, I mean, it has it's not a huge seam allowance. I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't trim this back. So we're going to box corners. And what you're going to want to do is your mouth should just be, once you fold it on itself, it should just want to close. This seam is already like open. I'm going to flatten this seam to this edge, and I will just put a couple clips in it. For me, with box corners, I notice if I kind of squish down the bag and kind of like pull it taut and then match up the seams. I always do trim my box corners though to get a poke out effect. And I'll show you again on this. I pretty much just open it, and then I kind of just open the whole back. Then I will take this seam and put it one way and this the other way, so that the weight is evenly distributed. I cannot use 70 weight. I have tried everything. I even talked to Steve from Sewing Gold, and my machine, it has to be like a missile block for me, it just does not take it. So I'm okay with the 40 weight though. I'm perfectly content with it. I have a lot of colors. The spools are cheap. And it's Saba thread is the same as Amen thread. I'm fine. So you have your corner. I pull it out like this, and I just take the mouth and kind of just put my fingers there, and then I'll just move the seams opposite sides from each other. We're going to be turning it soon. I almost use, yeah, a presser foot cannot clip your bag, just so you know. Okay. So when we are on page 12, we are going to use the same seam allowance. And I personally like to go a little bit into the bag and then back stitch off the bag and then get back on. I just have issues sometimes where like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch does not get sewn, and then the whole bag doesn't look like it's a box corner. And this is the most bulkiest part, so take your time. If you have to use your hump jumper, do so. If you have to change your needle to a sharper needle, do so. Because this is the most bulkiest part of the bag. That's one down. So I go on, and then, oop, my thread came out of the hole. There we go. All right, so I go like 1/4 of an inch in, and then I kind of back stitch all the way off of it, and then go back on. And I do the same thing when I am finishing the other end. I back stitch before I completely go off, but then I go off a little bit and back stitch a little bit. Because my box corners never came out like really good until then. I seen someone else do it and I was like, that's genius. Trimming this up a little bit. That's the bulkiest part of the bag. All right, let's do this lining and then we'll birth it. And then I will show you how we top stitch it and how we put in the frame, and you can be the judge of whether or not you want to put a frame on this. I think you can go without, or width. It's kind of just dealer's choice. That's like the beauty of sewing. There's no like set rules. And I'm going a 1/2 inch in on the lining because I want it to be, you know, nice and taut. Okay. You grab one corner. We're at 3-hour mark. When does it kick you off? 4? Or 3? Yeah, any soft table has black and white. Well, Dana, and I don't, for some reason, I always just get black. I have it in white, but I don't know. I'm doing this through the pocket. Okay. I don't get Tech 70. I use Tech 40 on my machine. Monica uses Tech 70, and I think she gets hers from Sunny Sewing. Let me go through this pocket. Yeah, wasn't that like the fastest birthing process ever? So we have time, Davo. We're almost done. And I'm just going to, so we're like literally almost done. So here comes the fun stuff. We're going to turn this bag one more time. So the lining is going to be on the outside. When I do, I just take a corner and I poke my hand through it, and then I pull. This is how we're going to top stitch it. And also how we're going to make the casing area. Oh no, you know what? You're going to see me unpick. When you were doing the lining, you were supposed to leave a 1 inch, not a 1 inch. Yes, a 1 inch opening so you could put the frame. But that's not a problem because I could just take out a few stitches and then like would stitch it back closed when I put the frame in. So when you're doing it, there's a little arrow